Imagine waking up in Europe in the year 1750. You do not think of yourself first as French, Italian, or German. You are a subject of a king, a resident of a province, a member of a church, a village, a language community, or a social rank. Empires contain dozens of peoples. Borders belong to dynasties. A prince can inherit a territory, trade it through marriage, or lose it in war. The modern claim that every nation should govern itself has not yet become common sense. That transformation begins with a deceptively simple question: if a king does not own the state, who does? Break time 27s. One of the men who made that question dangerous was Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Writing in the 18th century, Rousseau argued that legitimate political authority came from the people and their general will. He did not invent nationalism, and he was not describing the modern nation-state exactly. But his idea moved sovereignty away from a monarch and toward a collective public. The American Revolution then offered one dramatic example of people declaring a right to govern themselves. Across the Atlantic, France would push the principle much further, turning a philosophical argument into mass politics. Break time 0.7. In 1789, the French monarchy cracked. Crowds stormed the Bastille. The revolution announced that sovereignty belonged to the nation. Subjects became citizens, at least in principle. A new political language spread through newspapers, clubs, festivals, flags, and mass armies. The nation was no longer merely the land ruled by a king. It was imagined as a body of equal citizens who could make laws, demand sacrifice, and defend a common homeland. The promise was liberating. It was also coercive. Regional languages and loyalties could now be treated as obstacles to national unity. Break time 0.7s. Then came Napoleon Bonaparte, the revolution's most famous heir and its great contradiction. His armies carried legal reform, administrative centralization, and revolutionary language across Europe. But French domination also provoked resistance. In German lands, Spain, Italy, and elsewhere, opposition to Napoleon encouraged thinkers and fighters to describe their own peoples as historic nations. Napoleon did not simply export nationalism. He helped create the conditions in which people defined themselves against an occupying empire. At the same time, in Latin America, leaders such as Simón Bolívar used the crisis of European monarchy to fight for independent republics. Break time 0.7's ideas alone could not create a mass nation. New machinery helped. Printing in everyday languages allowed readers who would never meet to consume the same news each morning. Maps drew hard outlines around a shared homeland. Census forms classified populations. Schools taught standardized language, history, and civic rituals. Railways, factories, and cities pulled strangers into common institutions. Later, scholars would disagree about which force mattered most. Ernest Gellner emphasized industrial society and mass education. Benedict Anderson famously described nations as imagined communities, made possible in part by print capitalism. Imagined did not mean fake. It meant socially real despite most members never meeting. Break time 0.7. By 1848, revolution crossed Europe again. Among the dreamers was Giuseppe Mazzini, an Italian exile who believed humanity would advance through free nations. To him, Italy was not merely a peninsula divided among kingdoms and empires. It was a moral community waiting to become political. Giuseppe Garibaldi turned that dream into theatre and war. With his red-shirted volunteers, he helped conquer the kingdom of the Two Sicilies in 1860. Yet unification was not simply a popular awakening. Diplomacy, monarchy, and armies decided which version of Italy survived. Break time 0.7. Germany revealed another path. Otto von Bismarck distrusted romantic speeches when they threatened Prussian power. He used diplomacy and 3 carefully managed wars to unite most German states under Prussian leadership. In 1871, a German emperor was proclaimed inside the Palace of Versailles after France had been defeated. The image was unforgettable, a nation announced through princes, uniforms, and military victory. Nationalism could challenge empires from below, but it could also strengthen a state from above. It could speak the language of citizenship while demanding obedience, taxes, and soldiers. Break time 0.7. By the late 19th century, nationalism had become global. But it never traveled as a finished European package. Japan's Meiji leaders used national institutions, mass education, and imperial authority to transform the state and resist Western domination, then built an empire of their own. Reformers in the Ottoman world argued over whether a shared Ottoman citizenship could hold a diverse empire together as ethnic national movements grew. Across colonized societies, intellectuals turned the language of national self-determination against imperial rulers. Each movement selected different histories, heroes, languages, and boundaries. The model spread, but every nation had to be narrated into existence. Break time point says that power carried a shadow. A civic nation could promise membership through citizenship and shared laws. An ethnic nation could define belonging through ancestry, language, or religion. In reality, most national movements mixed both. They created solidarity among strangers, expanded political participation, and helped people overthrow foreign rule. They also drew lines between insiders and outsiders. Governments used schools, monuments, and conscription to make national identity feel ancient and natural. Minorities were sometimes pressured to assimilate, expelled, or worse. By 1914, rival national ambitions helped turn a European crisis into a world war. Break time point says, so where did nationalism come from? Not from one person, one country, or one date. It emerged from a chain reaction: popular sovereignty, revolution, print, education, state building, industrial change, empire, and resistance. Rousseau helped relocate authority in the people. French revolutionaries gave the nation a mass political form. Napoleon spread institutions and provoked opposition. Mazzini imagined a moral community. Garibaldi fought for it. Bismarck armed and administered it. Then movements around the world rewrote the idea for their own conditions. Nationalism's deepest achievement was to make millions of strangers feel that they shared a past and a political future. Its enduring danger is the question hidden inside that promise: who belongs to the nation and who gets left outside.